Beneath the earth we walk on lies a forgotten history, invisible to most maps and textbooks, yet astonishing in scale and complexity. For millennia, human societies did not merely exist on the surface. Some deliberately chose to move underground, carving vast networks of tunnels, chambers, and entire cities from rock and soil. These subterranean civilizations were not simple shelters, they were thriving ecosystems, complete with markets, governance systems, temples, and spaces for art and ritual. Every corridor was designed with purpose, every chamber engineered with precision, and every settlement connected through paths that stretched for miles beneath the earth. Archaeologists have discovered glimpses of these hidden worlds in regions as diverse as Anatolia, North Africa, and Central Asia. Sites like Derinkuyu in Turkey reveal complex multi-level cities extending dozens of meters below ground, with ventilation, shafts, wells, and escape routes that speak to sophisticated urban planning. But these are only fragments. Countless other tunnels and chambers remain unexplored, their stories swallowed by time and earth. What makes these underground empires extraordinary is not just their engineering, but their philosophical approach to existence. While surface societies often competed for territory and dominance, underground civilizations prioritized security, stability, and secrecy. They created spaces where entire populations could live for generations with minimal contact with the outside world. The design of these subterranean cities reflects a deep understanding of the natural environment. Engineers harnessed underground rivers for water, used geothermal heat for warmth, and carved storage chambers into rock to preserve food for extended periods. They built intricate ventilation systems to circulate air, ensuring that life could thrive without sunlight. Every feature reflects forethought and ingenuity, suggesting that these societies were not temporary refuges. They were intended to endure. But why go underground in the first place? Theories abound. Some believe these societies sought refuge from surface conflicts, hiding from invading armies and marauding groups. Others suggest environmental pressures, such as prolonged droughts or changing climates, forced populations below. Yet, another possibility is far more intriguing. These civilizations may have pursued a deliberate philosophical choice, seeking isolation to experiment with new forms of governance, culture, or belief systems, insulated from the chaos and corruption of surface societies. What we can say with certainty is that underground civilizations were not primitive. Evidence points to trade, agriculture, religion, and governance. Hidden marketplaces indicate economic systems existed, while temples and ceremonial spaces suggest complex spiritual or cultural practices. Walls were often decorated with symbols, carvings, and possibly coded messages, a secret language known only to insiders. These societies were sophisticated, innovative, and utterly hidden from history as we know it. Yet, despite all this ingenuity, many of these subterranean civilizations were eventually abandoned. Tunnels were sealed, chambers left empty, and knowledge lost. No clear record explains why. There was no recorded conquest, no cataclysmic disaster, and often no apparent reason at all. What remains are echoes of brilliance, carefully engineered systems now lying in darkness, waiting to be rediscovered. The underground world challenges the very definition of civilization. It teaches that human ingenuity is not always directed toward visibility or recognition. Some societies flourished deliberately in obscurity, mastering survival in ways surface dwellers could scarcely imagine. And the more we explore these tunnels, the more we realize that the story of humanity is not only written in stone above ground, but also hidden in shadowed corridors, forgotten cities, and silent chambers below. Life underground was radically different from anything on the surface. Day and night had no meaning in the tunnels, yet people developed routines, calendars, and schedules attuned to the subtle rhythms of their hidden world. Communities were tightly knit because survival depended on cooperation. Every individual had a role. Engineers maintained ventilation shafts, farmers tended underground gardens or aquaponic systems, artisans crafted tools and ceremonial items, and administrators ensured resources were distributed fairly. The absence of sunlight forced innovation, leading to creative solutions for lighting, energy, and agriculture. Lamps fueled by oil, reflective surfaces, and early forms of bioluminescent cultivation may have illuminated paths that would otherwise be pitch black. Governance in subterranean cities was equally extraordinary. Without expansive territories to control, leadership focused on organization and consensus rather than conquest. Councils and local assemblies made critical decisions collectively, weighing the needs of residents across multiple levels of the city. Rules were strict, but often practical, ensuring that everyone adhered to safety protocols, resource management, and social harmony. Breaking these rules could endanger the entire population, so compliance was not just moral but existential. This created a society where order was maintained, not through fear, but through mutual dependence. Economically, underground civilizations demonstrated remarkable ingenuity. They developed trade networks, both within and beyond the subterranean world. Artifacts suggest that certain cities specialized in crafting unique items, ceramics, metals, or symbolic carvings, which were traded through carefully concealed tunnels and secret surface access points. Agriculture was adapted to underground conditions. People cultivated mushrooms, root vegetables, and other low-light crops in soil-rich chambers, while underground streams supported fish farming. Every resource was maximized, often stored in multi-level granaries, designed to preserve food for years. Cultural and spiritual life was equally rich. Temples and ceremonial halls were carved with extraordinary precision, sometimes spanning entire underground floors. Symbolism dominated these spaces. Carvings, murals, and sculpted icons communicated myths, history, and moral codes, preserving collective memory in the absence of sunlight. Music, dance, and ritual likely reinforced social cohesion, binding communities together in a world where isolation could be psychologically taxing. Despite being hidden, these societies were far from simple. They thrived on culture, philosophy, and the shared human need for meaning. Even communication was sophisticated. Long tunnels connected different levels and sections of the city, often with signal systems or acoustic designs that allowed messages to travel efficiently over great distances. Some archaeologists hypothesize that certain carvings functioned as coded records, allowing knowledge to persist even when populations shifted. Memory, in these civilizations, was embedded in architecture itself, a living archive, not merely written or spoken words. Yet, as with all remarkable systems, these underground civilizations faced challenges: ventilation failures, water contamination, structural collapses, or disease could spread rapidly through confined spaces. The stakes for problem-solving were incredibly high. A single mistake could endanger thousands. This pressure, however, seems to have inspired extraordinary levels of collaboration, planning, and innovation. Survival was intertwined with ingenuity, creating a culture where knowledge, skill, and foresight were prized above all else. The mystery deepens when we consider the eventual decline of many of these subterranean societies. Archaeological evidence indicates that even the most sophisticated cities were sometimes abandoned entirely. Tunnels were sealed, chambers emptied, and entire levels left untouched for centuries. Unlike surface societies, which might collapse due to invasion or famine, the underground civilizations often left no obvious traces of disaster. They vanished deliberately, leaving behind functional infrastructure and baffling historians for generations. This raises the haunting question: why would a civilization capable of surviving in perfect secrecy and efficiency choose to disappear? Some theories point to ecological pressures, social upheaval, or the inability to maintain massive subterranean populations indefinitely. Others suggest a philosophical decision, a conscious withdrawal from the surface world to preserve knowledge, culture, or security in isolation. Whatever the reason, the evidence is clear. These societies did not collapse in chaos. They disappeared with purpose. The scale and sophistication of underground cities defy imagination. Entire complexes stretched for miles beneath mountains, plains, and deserts, with multiple levels designed to accommodate tens of thousands of inhabitants. Tunnels were reinforced with carved stone columns, arches, and intricate support systems that distributed weight evenly. preventing collapses, even in areas hundreds of meters below the surface. Ventilation shafts were strategically positioned to draw fresh air from above, while exhaust tunnels carried carbon dioxide and smoke away from living spaces. Some shafts doubled as water wells, enabling both drinking and irrigation. The architectural genius of these societies ensured that every level, chamber, and corridor could sustain life for decades or longer without surface contact. Temperature control was another remarkable feat. In deep subterranean chambers, geothermal heat maintained stable warmth, while reflective surfaces and carefully arranged ventilation systems minimized dampness and mold. Underground waterways were channeled for both practical and aesthetic purposes, providing clean drinking water, irrigation for underground farms, and sometimes even elaborate decorative fountains or ritual pools. Every feature demonstrates a mastery of engineering and environmental science that rivals and in some cases surpasses what surface civilizations could achieve with similar technology. Lighting was carefully considered to compensate for the absence of sunlight. Oil lamps, fire pits, and possibly early bioluminescent plants provided illumination. But even more impressive were reflective surfaces and polished stones used to amplify light in key areas. Public spaces such as marketplaces and ceremonial halls were illuminated strategically, highlighting architecture and important ritual objects. The interplay of light and shadow was deliberate, creating both functional visibility and spiritual or psychological impact. The underground world was not simply livable, it was designed to inspire, to create a sense of awe, and to reinforce the social and cultural hierarchy within the community. Escape routes and defensive planning were embedded into the design. Hidden shafts, secret tunnels, and concealed exits allowed inhabitants to flee in case of intrusion or natural disaster. Some tunnels branched into seemingly endless networks, designed to confuse outsiders while guiding residents safely to other chambers or surface exits. Archaeologists have discovered narrow hidden passages that would only allow a single person to pass at a time, suggesting that strategic defense and controlled movement were central concerns. Despite the secrecy, these societies were not trapped. They maintained flexibility, foresight, and adaptability. Technology in these underground civilizations extended beyond construction. Simple machinery, such as pulley systems, levers, and water-driven mechanisms, was employed to move heavy stone blocks, lift water, or operate gates and storage systems. Storage was carefully designed. Granaries carved into stone maintained consistent humidity and temperature, preserving food for years. Workshops produced tools, weapons, and ceremonial objects using metals, ceramics, and even early composite materials. Knowledge of metallurgy, engineering, and agriculture was highly advanced, passing through generations in ways encoded both in practice and in carved instructions. Yet, despite this brilliance, these civilizations eventually abandoned their subterranean homes. The engineering marvels were not destroyed, they were left intact, meticulously maintained until the point of departure. Doors were sealed, tunnels closed, and yet the ventilation and water systems remained operational. This is evidence of intentional withdrawal rather than collapse. It suggests a society so confident in its survival skills that leaving was a deliberate, controlled process, carried out with foresight and planning rather than desperation. The reasons for abandonment remain mysterious. Were these civilizations responding to surface threats that never reached the tunnels? Were they following ritual or philosophical mandates to relocate periodically? Or were they experimenting with a societal structure that inherently required mobility and temporary occupation? Some scholars argue that ecological limitations, a source depletion in isolated underground chambers, might have forced gradual migration, but the precision of their closure systems implies conscious intent rather than reactive necessity. This careful disappearance transforms our understanding of civilization itself. While most historical societies are remembered for battles, kings, or monumental constructions, underground civilizations teach us a different lesson. Survival does not require visibility, permanence, or even continuity on the surface. Ingenious engineering can support thriving communities in complete secrecy. and human ingenuity can flourish in darkness. And yet, even such civilizations, designed to last for generations, chose to vanish, leaving only the silent testimony of stone, tunnels, and faint traces of a vibrant life below. Underground civilizations were not merely practical. They were deeply cultural and profoundly spiritual. Despite the absence of sunlight, these societies cultivated art, music, and ceremonial practices that reflected their understanding of life, death, and human purpose. Walls and ceilings were often adorned with intricate carvings and murals, some depicting daily life, others illustrating myths, cosmologies, or moral teachings. These visual narratives were not decorative alone. They preserved collective memory, encoded societal laws, and communicated knowledge to future generations in ways that transcended writing. Religion and ritual were central to subterranean life. Temples and ceremonial chambers were constructed in the deepest, most sacred sections of the cities, often requiring long journeys through twisting tunnels to reach them. The act of entering these sacred spaces may have been both literal and symbolic, reflecting a journey from the mundane surface world into the spiritual or philosophical heart of the civilization. Evidence suggests rituals involved music, chanting, and coordinated movement, creating a shared emotional and cognitive experience that reinforced social cohesion in an otherwise isolated environment. Music and sound were especially important underground. Acoustics were carefully considered in large halls and ceremonial chambers, with tunnels acting as natural amplifiers. Drums, flutes, and stringed instruments may have accompanied rituals, creating vibrations that resonated through the stone, providing both spiritual and practical benefits. The sounds themselves could signal events, coordinate labor, or communicate warnings across long distances, demonstrating that even artistic expression served functional purposes in these hidden societies. Education and knowledge transmission were highly developed, without sunlight or written materials easily accessible. Underground civilizations relied on memorization, apprenticeship, and symbolic inscriptions to pass down vital skills. Artisans, engineers, and priests taught younger generations through hands-on experience, stories, and coded messages etched into stone. The combination of practical training and cultural education ensured that critical knowledge, how to maintain tunnels, manage resources, and perform rituals, survived for generations, even in complete isolation from the surface world. Social hierarchy existed, but was uniquely adapted to subterranean life. Leaders were often chosen for expertise, wisdom, or spiritual authority, rather than wealth or birthright alone. Councils managed resources, coordinated labor, and mediated disputes. Cooperation was essential. Failure to collaborate could threaten the entire population. This reliance on collective responsibility shaped social norms, emphasizing community over individuality, skill over privilege, and duty over personal ambition. Even leisure had a role. Archaeological evidence suggests underground civilizations created spaces for games, storytelling, and celebration. These activities reinforced social bonds, relieved psychological strain, and allowed communities to maintain morale in an environment removed from the natural world. Humor, performance, and communal gatherings were not luxuries, they were vital for mental health and social stability. Despite their vibrancy, these societies eventually disappeared. Cultural practices, once thriving, were left behind, and sacred spaces were sealed. Objects of art, ritual implements, and symbolic carvings remained untouched, almost frozen in time. The careful abandonment suggests a deliberate choice. These civilizations did not end due to chaos, conquest, or resource failure. They departed methodically, preserving the integrity of their culture even as they vacated the physical space. This raises profound questions. How would a civilization capable of sustaining life, culture, and complex governance beneath the earth choose to vanish? Was it a philosophical decision, a ritualistic departure, or a survival strategy we do not yet understand? The evidence points to conscious, thoughtful action. Every tunnel sealed, every chamber left intact, and every symbolic artifact carefully preserved indicates intent rather than accident. Through these underground societies, we see that civilization is not defined solely by visibility, territory, or permanence. It is defined by knowledge, culture, and human ingenuity. Even hidden from the sun, humanity thrived, innovated, and created meaning. And yet, like the civilizations that preceded them on the surface, these empires demonstrate that human societies are capable of walking away, leaving behind structures, culture, and history for future generations to discover, ponder, and attempt to understand. The greatest mystery of underground civilizations is not how they thrived, but why they left. Unlike surface societies destroyed by conquest, famine, or natural disaster, these subterranean empires often disappeared with precision and care. Every tunnel, chamber, and sacred hall was left intact. Ventilation shafts remained functional, water channels undisturbed, and storage rooms filled with preserved food. Nothing suggests panic, nothing indicates sudden collapse. The evidence points to deliberate departure, a civilization choosing to vanish on its own terms. Historians and archaeologists have proposed several theories, each as fascinating as it is unsettling. Some argue environmental pressures forced relocation, water tables shifted, underground crops failed, or minerals essential to construction were depleted. Yet, the meticulous sealing of chambers and continued functionality of infrastructure suggests a level of foresight inconsistent with desperate survival. Others speculate political or social upheaval drove the exodus. Perhaps internal conflict or philosophical disagreements led entire populations to migrate elsewhere, leaving their cities behind. But again, the organized nature of the abandonment hints at strategy rather than chaos. A more intriguing possibility is philosophical or ritualistic departure. Some subterranean societies may have viewed their cities as temporary sanctuaries, designed to be occupied for a fixed number of generations before moving on. In this theory, leaving was a cultural imperative rather than a necessity. Sacred spaces and carefully preserved artifacts indicate that inhabitants valued continuity of knowledge over permanence of place. Their cities were laboratories of culture, experimentation grounds for society. And when their purpose was fulfilled, the population moved, leaving a perfectly functional environment behind. Psychological factors may also have played a role. Living underground, cut off from sunlight and the surface world, could induce social or spiritual imperatives to relocate periodically. Generations may have been conditioned to see the city as temporary, understanding that true survival required adaptability and mobility. In this sense, abandonment was not loss, but evolution, a conscious choice to embrace change rather than stagnation. Whatever the reason, the consequences of departure are profound. Unlike surface ruins, which are often misinterpreted as evidence of catastrophe, abandoned underground cities force us to rethink our assumptions about human behavior and civilization. These were societies that could survive independently, maintain complex social and cultural systems, and engineer environments for generations. Yet, even with such capability, they chose to leave, demonstrating that permanence is not the goal of human ingenuity. Function, adaptation, and philosophical intent sometimes outweigh attachment to place. Modern parallels are striking. Today, humanity faces choices shaped by technology, climate, and global mobility. People increasingly live in digital spaces. Remote work allows physical detachment from traditional communities, and migration for opportunity or safety is routine. Just as underground civilizations balanced survival, culture, and mobility, modern society must navigate permanence versus flexibility. The lesson is clear. The desire or necessity to move, adapt, and sometimes abandon familiar systems is intrinsic to human history. Civilizations may vanish, not because they fail, but because survival and opportunity exists elsewhere. The study of abandoned subterranean civilizations teaches a deeper philosophical truth. Human societies are defined not by structures, but by the choices of their people. Cities, tunnels, and artifacts are secondary. The real civilization is the culture, knowledge, and intent embedded within. When those elements shift, priorities toward mobility, adaptation, or philosophical imperatives, the physical environment becomes optional. Abandonment is then not tragedy, is rational evolution. Understanding this phenomenon challenges our perception of history. It forces us to recognize that disappearance is not always loss. Some civilizations walk away, leaving evidence behind for future generations to interpret, study, and marvel at. They demonstrate that civilization is a living, dynamic system, responsive to human choice, and capable of redefining the boundaries of survival, culture, and identity. Despite being hidden beneath the earth, underground civilizations were not entirely isolated. Archaeological evidence suggests that many cities were connected either through secret tunnels, trade networks, or carefully concealed surface access points. Artifacts such as exotic minerals, crafted tools, and ceremonial objects indicate that subterranean societies engaged in long-distance exchanges, maintaining relationships that spanned hundreds of miles. This challenges the assumption that being underground meant isolation. Instead, it reveals a sophisticated system of interdependence operating in shadows. Trade networks were likely limited to essential goods and cultural artifacts, avoiding unnecessary exposure to the surface. Precious metals, rare stones, medicinal herbs, and symbolic art may have circulated through clandestine channels. These exchanges allowed underground cities to sustain technological and cultural development without compromising secrecy. Evidence of standardized measurements, recurring symbols, and shared architectural techniques across different subterranean sites implies a form of coordination or mutual understanding among these hidden civilizations. Beyond material exchange, these civilizations appear to have shared knowledge. Certain carvings, symbols, and architectural motifs recur across distant sites, suggesting a transmission of ideas or philosophy. Some researchers hypothesize that these shared codes functioned as a hidden language, enabling communication of ethical principles, engineering methods, or ritual practices. Knowledge was thus portable, moving between cities and preserving a sense of collective identity despite geographical separation. Even surface interactions were controlled and deliberate. Entrances to subterranean cities were carefully camouflaged, disguised as natural caves, wells, or inconspicuous structures. Only trusted individuals knew the locations of these access points, ensuring that surface outsiders could not compromise the security or integrity of the underground society. Visitors, traders, or diplomats were likely vetted and monitored, with strict protocols governing movement and exchange. This combination of secrecy and connectivity illustrates that underground civilizations balanced isolation with strategic engagement, maintaining autonomy while participating in a broader hidden network. Cultural exchange played a significant role in shaping subterranean life. Art, ritual practices, and ceremonial knowledge likely traveled along these networks, allowing underground societies to evolve in parallel yet connected ways. Certain recurring motif spirals, geometric patterns, symbolic animals appear across regions separated by hundreds of miles, suggesting shared belief systems or philosophical frameworks. These patterns hint at a remarkable level of intellectual and spiritual cohesion among dispersed subterranean populations. The existence of these hidden connections also provides clues to the eventual abandonment of subterranean cities. If populations were mobile and interconnected, entire societies could relocate efficiently, moving along established networks without disrupting trade, culture, or governance. This mobility may explain why cities were often sealed intact rather than destroyed. The communities had planned for relocation, leaving behind functioning infrastructure for potential future return. The meticulous nature of these departures underscores the intentional, thoughtful, and sophisticated character of these civilizations. The broader lesson is profound. Civilization does not require visibility to thrive or endure. Underground societies demonstrate that human ingenuity, culture, and connectivity can flourish entirely out of sight. Their ability to maintain long-distance networks, exchange resources and knowledge, and coordinate complex social systems challenges traditional definitions of what it means to be a civilization. In some ways, these hidden empires were more resilient than their surface counterparts, insulated from invasion, environmental disasters, and the volatility of politics above ground. Understanding these hidden networks reshapes our perception of history. It reminds us that much of human development may remain invisible, buried beneath layers of earth and time. What survives in shadow often reveals as much or more about human ingenuity, adaptability, and foresight than the grand monuments of surface empires. And yet, as with all subterranean civilizations, even these connected networks eventually disappear, leaving evidence for modern generations to uncover, analyze, and marvel at. Underground civilizations were not merely surviving, they were innovating. Living in darkness, confined spaces, and isolated environments required solutions that went beyond conventional technology of the surface world. Ventilation systems were engineered with precision to maximize airflow, sometimes using natural drafts and temperature differentials to circulate air across multiple levels. Water management included reservoirs, wells, and channels that collected, purified, and distributed water efficiently, allowing large populations to thrive without contamination. These systems were maintained meticulously, often by specialized engineers whose knowledge was passed down through apprenticeship, ensuring continuity over generations. Lighting presented a unique challenge. Without sunlight, underground societies experimented with multiple sources. Oil lamps and fire pits provided basic illumination, but archaeological evidence suggests reflective materials, polished metals, and possibly early forms of bioluminescent organisms were used to enhance visibility. This combination of natural and artificial solutions created an environment both functional and aesthetically refined. Public spaces and ceremonial halls were intentionally illuminated to highlight architecture, art, and ritual objects, demonstrating that technology and culture were intertwined. Agriculture underground required radical adaptation. Certain crops, mushrooms, root vegetables, and low-light greens were cultivated in specially prepared soil beds, often supplemented with nutrient-rich water systems. Underground streams and aqueducts supported fish farming and irrigation. Granaries were designed to maintain consistent temperature and humidity, allowing food to last for years. The ingenuity of these systems ensured food security in a world cut off from the sun and unpredictable surface conditions. Engineering innovations extended to construction and structural integrity. Multi-level chambers were supported with carved stone pillars, arches, and buttresses. Load distribution was carefully calculated to prevent collapse, even in areas hundreds of meters deep. Some tunnels featured interlocking stones and compression-based designs that would remain stable for centuries without maintenance. Seismic or environmental adaptations may have been incorporated, suggesting an advanced understanding of natural forces. Tools and machinery were also adapted to subterranean life. Pulleys, levers, ramps, and simple cranes moved heavy stones or lifted water. Workshops produced metal tools, weapons, and ceremonial objects. Techniques for mining, carving, and shaping materials were highly sophisticated, reflecting specialized knowledge and craftsmanship. Artisans and engineers collaborated closely, ensuring that every functional object also adhered to aesthetic and cultural standards. Interestingly, evidence suggests some underground civilizations experimented with early scientific observation. Air quality, water flow, temperature, and structural stress were monitored and managed systematically. There may have been rudimentary methods of tracking population, food consumption, or resource allocation. This implies that knowledge was not only preserved, but actively applied to optimize survival, demonstrating a level of scientific thinking that rivaled surface societies of the same era. These technological achievements, however, were not leveraged for dominance. Unlike surface empires, underground civilizations had little incentive to wage war or expand territory. Instead, innovation focused on sustainability, efficiency, and quality of life. Every system was designed to maintain the community, enhance culture, and protect inhabitants. Knowledge was cumulative, practical, and deeply embedded in daily life, showing that ingenuity thrives when survival depends on collaboration rather than conquest. Yet, as remarkable as these innovations were, they were ultimately abandoned. Systems designed to sustain life for generations were left intact, fully operational, yet deserted. This deliberate withdrawal suggests that technological mastery alone does not guarantee permanence. Even the most ingenious societies may walk away when priorities shift, when philosophical imperatives or social choices dictate mobility over attachment, echoing patterns seen in earlier civilizations both above and below ground. The lesson is clear. Technology enables civilization, but culture and human intent determine its longevity. Underground societies demonstrate that survival, innovation, and sophistication are insufficient to prevent abandonment. The choices of people, their philosophies, beliefs, and decisions ultimately define the lifespan of a civilization. In darkness, humans created brilliance. Yet, like all great societies, they chose to vanish, leaving behind lessons encoded in stone, water, and air for future generations to decipher. Though hidden, underground civilizations often left subtle marks on surface societies. Myths, legends, and folklore may reflect encounters or observations of subterranean communities. Stories of people of the caves, lost cities beneath the earth, or mysterious tunnels, appearing and disappearing could all be cultural memories of these hidden empires. Some religious texts and oral traditions hint at secret knowledge, sacred caves, or journeys into darkness, suggesting that underground civilizations were not completely invisible but existed in collective human consciousness as enigmatic forces shaping imagination and belief. Trade and resource interaction further connected underground and surface worlds. Certain artifacts, metals, or ceramics recovered from surface sites match those found in subterranean complexes, indicating limited but meaningful exchanges. Surface civilizations may have relied on underground societies for rare minerals, advanced tools, or knowledge about water management and agriculture. Conversely, surface cultures provided materials, seeds, or social interaction that helped underground populations maintain diversity and connection with the broader human network. These interactions were subtle, carefully controlled, and often concealed, preserving secrecy while enabling mutual benefit. Cultural diffusion is evident in architectural motifs, symbolic carvings, and artistic styles. Some tunnels feature spiral designs, geometric patterns, or symbolic animals that resemble motifs from nearby surface civilizations. While these patterns may have independent origins, the consistency suggests some level of influence or shared philosophical thought. Underground societies may have served as incubators for innovation, preserving knowledge that later spread to surface communities. Even after the subterranean cities were abandoned, the secrecy of underground life also fostered speculation and myth-making among surface populations. Reports of hidden tunnels, strange lights, or mysterious sounds may have inspired legends of spirits, gods, or supernatural beings dwelling beneath the earth. In this sense, the underground civilizations shaped culture indirectly, influencing storytelling, belief systems, and moral lessons without revealing their true existence. These myths preserved fragments of reality, encoded in allegory and cautionary tale, providing insight into human interaction with hidden worlds. Interestingly, evidence of coordinated engineering and water management techniques suggests that some surface civilizations may have benefited from subterranean expertise. Early irrigation systems, canal designs, and water conservation methods bear resemblance to technologies perfected underground. While direct documentation is absent, the transfer of practical knowledge may have occurred through intermediaries or secret exchanges, leaving an imprint on surface development that survives in archaeology and historical records. Despite this influence, underground civilizations maintained autonomy and secrecy. Contact with the surface was strategic, limited to avoid exposure and protect the integrity of their society. This careful balance allowed them to thrive independently while participating selectively in broader networks. Their ability to shape culture without direct visibility underscores a remarkable adaptability and strategic intelligence rarely acknowledged in conventional history. Ultimately, the underground civilization's influence on the surface world highlights a profound truth. Human societies are interconnected, even when separated by environment, ideology, or concealment. Knowledge, culture, and innovation can travel silently, leaving traces that surface civilizations interpret through myth, art, and practical application. These hidden empires demonstrate that impact is not measured solely by visibility or dominance, but by the enduring transmission of ideas and ingenuity across generations. The final chapter of underground civilizations is marked not by catastrophe, but by deliberate, measured departure. Evidence from multiple sites indicates that populations left systematically, sealing entrances, preserving structural integrity, and maintaining functional systems, even as the last individuals walked away. Granaries remained stocked, ventilation shafts unobstructed, water channels unblocked. There was no panic, no chaos, just a conscious choice to abandon the physical space while ensuring that knowledge, art, and infrastructure were preserved for possible future generations. The reasons for this deliberate disappearance remain speculative, but they reveal profound insights into human priorities. Some scholars argue it was philosophical, a belief that societies must evolve, relocate, or renew themselves periodically to maintain cultural vitality. Others suggest practical reasons, limited resources, environmental changes, or the inherent challenges of sustaining large underground populations may have necessitated migration. Whatever the cause, the precision and care with which these civilizations vacated their homes reflect an intelligence and foresight that is staggering, even by modern standards. Abandonment did not equate to failure. On the contrary, it represents a sophisticated understanding of impermanence and adaptation. By leaving intact systems behind, these civilizations ensured continuity of culture, architecture, and knowledge, creating a legacy for future generations to discover. The empty tunnels, silent halls, and sealed chambers are not ruins in the traditional sense. They are monuments to foresight, discipline, and strategic planning. They challenge our conventional notion that collapse equals extinction, showing instead that societies can vanish physically while leaving enduring intellectual and cultural footprints. The lessons for modern civilization are striking. In an era of rapid technological advancement, global mobility, and environmental uncertainty, humanity faces choices similar to those confronted by underground societies. Cities, industries, and even entire nations may be abandoned in favor of sustainability, relocation, or strategic withdrawal. The story of subterranean civilizations warns that permanence is never guaranteed, even for societies with immense technological and cultural sophistication. Success is not measured by how long structures last, but by the foresight, knowledge, and adaptability embedded within a society. Psychologically, these ancient decisions illuminate human priorities. People value survival, culture, and continuity of knowledge more than attachment to place. The underground civilizations chose to protect their collective intelligence rather than cling to physical spaces. They demonstrate that civilization is defined by the decisions of its people, by what they preserve, how they innovate, and what they leave behind, rather than by monuments, surface visibility, or the size of a city. Finally, the abandoned tunnels and hidden chambers offer a mirror to humanity's future. As we navigate climate change, technological shifts, and social transformation, we must recognize that attachment to the present physical world may be optional. Knowledge, culture, and innovation can be carried forward independently of location. The subterranean civilizations remind us that survival is not about permanence in space, it is about adaptability, foresight, and the choices we make collectively. In the end, these forgotten empires beneath the earth leave a haunting but inspiring message. Civilization is not bound to the surface, to visibility, or to permanence. It is defined by ingenuity, culture, and human intent. Even in darkness, humans can create brilliance. Even in absence, they can leave enduring legacies. And as modern society confronts unprecedented change, the story of the underground civilizations serves as both a warning and a guide. To survive and thrive, we must embrace adaptability, foresight, and the courage to walk away when necessary, leaving knowledge and culture as our enduring testament.